And I'm honored to have in the studio with me former Senator Gary Hart of Colorado, current chair of the board of the American Security Project. AmericanSecurityProject.org is their website if you want to check it out. And Senator Hart, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to our program.
Great pleasure.
You've been on before. I think this is the first time, in the same studio, in our brand new studio.
Yes.
We were broadcasting out of Portland for years. And tell me about the American Security Project and how it came about.
Senator John Kerry, now chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, had an idea after his presidential campaign that the notion of security was changing in the 21st century, and that the centrist kind of approach to that security, involving moderate Republicans as well as Democrats, had fractured badly. He, of course, was a victim of that in his campaign. So he set about after the campaign, I think in probably 2005-06, to recruit some of us, former members of Congress, former senior flag officers, military officers, diplomats, and others, to try to reconstruct a thoughtful, moderate, progressive approach to security involving arms control, among other things. And we have been at this for now 3 or 4 years and are strongly supporting the New START Treaty to a person, doing what we can to try to get the American people up to date on why, first of all, this is in our national interest, national security interest, but also how the failure of the treaty would very adversely affect the United States.
Am I correct in assuming that when you said the breakdown of what used to be a bipartisan Democratic-Republican dialogue was very polite code for the Republicans have gone crazy and they no longer talk to Democrats? And, I'm sure you wouldn't put it that way, but that's how it looks from where I'm sitting. That, when I see Republicans who are saying that they're not going to get 2 votes for START out of the Republican caucus in the Senate, and they have to know that this is Mitch McConnell. This is all about politics. It's about bringing down Obama.
Well, I think we have to distinguish between the total opposition party in the Congress and more thoughtful Republicans who have endorsed this treaty from several administrations. Secretaries of State like Jim Baker and Henry Kissinger and a variety of others, national security advisors.
None of them are serving in the Senate except Danforth?
Right.
Yeah.
And even in recent days, recent hours, I think, John McCain has been talking more favorably about the treaty. As you know, it requires, I think, 6 or 7 Republican votes. We're obviously hopeful of getting those, but I think the American people have to be heard from if that's going to happen. Otherwise, the forces in the Republican Party who are in total opposition to everything this administration seeks to do, including things in our national interest, are going to hold sway.
Yeah, which is it seems to me, Senator Hart, tragic. Let's start at the beginning for a moment. The START Treaty.
Yes.
The acronym stands for, the START Treaty originated at, the reason why it came into being was?
It goes back to really the big dawn of the if not the dawn of the Cold War, at least the dawn of the nuclear age, when we discovered that the Soviets had gotten the nuclear capability. We had 2 options. We had a lot of options, but 2 basic ones. One is an arms race without limits. The other was an effort diplomatically to see if we could bring some numerical controls on the size of those arsenals. And this proved to be on and off over 40-some years a basic American policy under both parties and half a dozen administrations at least. That was at least to explore the possibility of putting caps, first of all, on the number of warheads and delivery systems, and then beginning the process, including under Ronald Reagan eventually, of bringing those numbers down. And the key to it all along was 2 things. One, was it in our interest to do so? The answer was yes. The second was, how do you verify, the famous trust but verify Reagan statement. And that included so-called national technical means, overhead satellites, among other things. But it came in the later years to include on-site inspection. There were certain things you couldn't see from 100 miles up, and even sophisticated satellites. So this evolved in the last number of years to on-site inspections. I think one of your guests, Dr. David Kay, is going to discuss
He's coming
that.
up next, yeah.
Because he is an authentic expert about what happens when you lose that capability. So the key is us watching them destroy warheads visibly and vice versa.
Right. And START is an acronym for Strategic...
Talks.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
I was afraid
been a
you'd
lot of
ask
years.
me. Strategic Arms Reduction Talks.
Yeah. Okay. And
that succeeded
comports
SALT.
with my recollection. Yeah.
Strategic Arms Limitation Talks.
Right. The old SALT treaties, and this goes back to the 60s.
Well, I guess 60s. Yeah, I think so. I don't recall under the Eisenhower years if we began any kind of
It seems like
dialogue.
this kind of, in some ways, grew out of the Bay of Pigs or the Cuban Missile Crisis. Even.
It grew out of the very underrated so-called American University speech by John Kennedy after the missile crisis, in which he said, there is no security in an unlimited arms race. And I think that really was the...
That would have been around the time, too, that he gave that famous speech on peace at Michigan State University in '63.
I think it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Same speech.
Oh, that was the speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I play clips from that on this show all the time because it was so brilliant.
Yeah. It's a historic speech, and it isn't understood that way yet.
Yeah.
But it will be.
No, people, one of the points that Kennedy made in that speech is that peace doesn't rally crowds. Peace doesn't ensure political victories. Peace doesn't get headlines. Peace doesn't get big corporate support. Peace merely keeps us safe.
Yeah.
It's like nobody wants to talk about that. What is your specific call? We're talking with former Senator Gary Hart, chairman of the board of the American Security Project. AmericanSecurityProject.org is the website about the START Treaty that is before the United States Senate for ratification. And in the minute or so we have left, your thoughts on how this might help us help the the former Soviet Union, now Russia, and some of its satellite states to dispose of some very dangerous weapons that are floating around there. And not just dangerous because they threaten us.
Well, that's true. The 90 to 95% of all nuclear weapons on Earth belong to us or the Russians. We cannot bring in the Chinese, the British, the French, the Indians, the Pakistanis to a global consortium of arms elimination until the two of us bring down our arsenals dramatically. This is a step in that direction. If this fails, as apparently some Republican leaders want it to, it is a huge step back for us. And it's a huge step back for security for our people. And it's nothing is life or death, but this comes about as close as anything. If we go back to a Cold War status with the Russians, all bets are off. There is the added, I think your question suggests, the added implication of loose nukes.
Yeah.
That is the escape.
Or disintegrating nukes that could just go off.
Disintegrating nuke. The materials, the warheads, and the knowledge, the scientists, all of those have to be contained and controlled.
Very, very well said. Former Senator Gary Hart, current chairman of the board of the American Security Project. AmericanSecurityProject.org is the website. Check it out. Senator Hart, thank you for being with us today.
Tom.
And thank you for the great work that you're doing.
For audio and video archives, go to ThomHartmann.com.